Hi, this is Angie with my Cricut Closet. This is my fourth video in my Cricut Craft Room series. Today we're going to cover some things that I did not cover in my third video. As you know, in the first video we covered just some basics of the craft room. We covered the left-hand tabs over here on the side. We covered the drawer at the bottom. And on the second video we covered adding images to your mat. In the third we covered this toolbar up here. But I did not cover the width and the height or the XY axis. So we're going to touch on those today. We're not going to spend a whole lot of time on them because they're real simple items. But also, right up here in the top left hand, this top tab, you may not be able to read it, but it says shape properties. We're going to cover that as well because I did not go over that in my other videos. So we're going to go ahead and get started. As always, I start with my options tab over here and set my project up. I have my default machine set to the Cricut Expression. My mat size is 12 by 12. Click on Craft Room, measuring units inches. My dial size is set to 4. My relative dial size is set. And I do not have any of these other options enabled because we're not going to use any images and we're not going to be using any layers today. So, down here at the bottom of my drawer, I have my overlay view set, my filters set to bookmarks, and I have Create a Critter open right now. What we're going to start with is the XY axis. And like I said, these are some simple things, and I'm just going to give you an example of how to use the XY axis. I'm just going to start with showing you how to make a shape card. So I've got this hippo from Create a Critter on the screen. And in my last video, we talked about using the copy and paste button here at the top. So I'm going to go ahead and copy and paste. Alright, and we also talked about the flip button, so we're going to flip him around. And in Cricut Craft Room, welding images is super easy. You can just move it over until they overlap. And as soon as they overlap, a weld and don't weld box will appear right here. And I don't know if you can see it on the screen, but as soon as I let go of my image, this lines right here are grayed out. So it automatically selects weld when you overlap two images. So if you don't want it to weld it, you just unclick that. So one of the problems I've had in the past with doing the shape books or shape cards is when you cut them out and then you fold them over, not lining up perfectly. And the XY axis is something that I just never really paid attention to. I never even touched it. Not sure why. I knew it was there, knew what it was for, but I just really didn't pay attention to it. But this is where I found it helped me out the most. So what we're going to do is, let me show you right now. It says my XY axis is 5.572 and 1.249. Okay, so I'm going to change that, and I'm going to start with this on the left, and I'm going to put him at 1 inch. Okay, so what that's going to do is he's still over on the map. It's 1.485 now, but it's down 1 inch. And I'm going to select my hippo on the right and change him to 1 inch as well on the y-axis. And as you can see, now they're perfectly lined up. So when you cut those out, see how they're lined up? When you cut that out, it's going to cut out as one image and it's going to fold over perfectly. So I've also used the XY axis lately for other things when I'm lining things up behind each other, using the different mat layers that we talked about in video 3. You can set your images behind it and set your y-axis so that they line up perfectly on each mat. Okay, I'm going to start with move on to the width and height. So I'm going to delete these hippos. We don't need those anymore. Okay, and I'm going to change my cartridge to George and Basic Shapes. Okay, and also I'm going to hit my shift button. Alright, Recently I was working on a project where I needed some mats for my photos. I had a 4x6 photo, and what I needed was a 4.5x6.5 mat. And I looked through all of the cartridges that I own and was not able to find a 4x6 or something proportionate to that rectangle in any of my cartridges. So what I did do in the past was just make it a little bit larger than a 4.5x6.5, and then I cut it down with my personal trimmer after I cut it out. But if you use your width and your height, you can actually make your shapes any size that you want. So here I have a rectangle on my screen, and it's a it says up here 4 by 2.681. I'll zoom in on that for you. Okay, so it's 4 by 2.681. And if I change the height of it to 5, you can see that the width changes so that it's still proportionate. The rectangle's still the same size, just slightly larger, but the proportions are the same. So there is this little black, if you can see it, link between the width and the height, and that links those together. If you click on that, it unlinks them, and now you can change the width and the height independently of each other and change your shape. So let me zoom out and show you. You can watch my square or my rectangle. I'm going to make the width 6.5 and change my height to 4.5, and now I have a rectangle, and it's perfect for my mat. Now I can go into my colors and patterns with my Imagine cartridges, and I can flood fill this with any of those colors or patterns, or I can just cut it out of paper that I already have. And while I have this open, I said we were going to talk about that shape properties tab on the left. So let's go ahead and do that. See, I really didn't spend much time on the XY axis or the width and height because it's just really pretty simple. And again, with the width and height, you can also do that with any of your letters, all of your fonts, any of your shapes. So that's not exclusive to just those. Okay, so now that we have a rectangle on here, I've clicked on my shape properties over here, and as you can see, we've got several options over here. With this top one, it says rotate. You can click on your green arrow. I'm going up right now, and it's going to rotate the shape. Or I can go down, and it's going to rotate. Oh, it's not going to want to let me go down. I think you have to go all the way around. It goes clockwise. And once you have it turned or whatever, you can always use the enter and did a number instead of using the buttons if you want to do it that way. And you can always go back to 0. So if you want it 9 degrees turned, you just type in 90. You want it 45, you type in 45, and it's just going to take you right there. I can type good today. See, and if you want to go back, type in 0, and it's going to give you right back to the beginning. Okay, now this, you'll see this little half circle or piece of a circle here. This button also is the same thing as this handlebar here on your shape. So it's going to do the same thing. So you can either use your handlebar or you can use this toolbar on the side. Okay, and the next one is scale. As you can see, it's got an arrow going from left to right, and you can use that to change your width. And right now it was set at 100, so I'm going to send it right back to that when I'm done. 100. And that is the same as this arrow on your handlebars. So all of these are correspond with your handlebars on your shape. And the next one, of course, is the height. You can do the same thing. You can adjust it with the arrows. You can adjust it by entering a value. Or you can use your handlebar. So it's pretty simple. The next one is the slant. And that is up here for handlebars. It's up here on the right hand side, the top right. You can slant it left or right. Okay, and that's this one here. And then you can also, doesn't have a handlebar on it, but you can also slant up and down using this. And then we have a quantity button. Now let me talk about these handlebars real quick too. We covered this and this and this, and also the rotate. The one here on the left, that's going to just move your whole image left or right on the screen. Keep your proportions. The one on the top is going to do the same thing for going up and down. And of course, this handlebar is to move it around the screen anywhere you want. And this down here in the right hand corner, that's going to change your size, but it's going to keep the rectangle or shape or whatever you're working with proportionate and just make it larger or smaller. So I'm just going to make that a small one for now for this next demonstration. This is a quantity, so if you want to have 4 of those rectangles, just enter 4 and hit apply. And as you can see, we have 4 rectangles, all the same size. And that's a lot easier than clicking on the copy and paste 4 different times. Okay, and then we're going to select this again and delete these extras. So we have our one left, and then down here we have our autofill. And if you have a gypsy or an expression, you probably already are familiar with the autofill, just as you are with the quantity, but we're going to go over it anyways. The autofill, it's set right now to 12 by 12. You can change the size of your paper. So if you have an 8.5 by 11 sheet and you want to cover, you want to have your square or your rectangle cut out as many times as you can on an 8.5 by 11 sheet, you would adjust your paper size to that. Now if you just have a regular 12 by 12 and you want to cut out as many rectangles on that 12 by 12 as possible, you just click apply, and as you can see, it has filled the entire mat with those rectangles. And you can do that with any shape or image. Okay, that's all I wanted to share with you today on this video. They were short and simple, but hopefully they will help you in designing your projects. My next video we're going to be covering fonts. Cricut Craft Room has a great feature with being able to use your fonts and designing with those. So I hope you will tune back in and watch that next video. As always, if you have any questions or anything that you would like for me to cover, feel free to leave a comment. You can also visit my blog at www.mycricutcloset.blogspot.com. Thanks for watching, and I hope you have a great week.